also very pleased to welcome another poet who is appearing at DODO Modern Poets for the first time. Ben Barton is the author of The Hospital, which is a collection of poems inspired by a stay in hospital. But far from being a gloomy reading experience, it's actually a very inspiring collection. I've read it and enjoyed it very much. And Ben is from, like me, from Folkestone, and he has had poems published widely in a number of magazines. He was nominated for Canterbury Poet of the Year and the Embrace Prize. He's also a filmmaker, so he made a film called Stella Erratica, which was funded by David Bowie and premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and he's working on another film at the moment, which should be out next year. But right now, he's here in The King and Queen, and so please give a big DODO Modern Poets welcome to Ben Barton.
Thank you. It's really great to be here, so thank you for inviting me. Yeah, as Patrick said, I'm going to read to you today almost exclusively from this little book that I wrote. What can I say about the hospital? Just to give you a bit of background about it. Obviously I'm a poet, but when I went into hospital, the last thing on my mind was writing a book of poetry. That just wasn't part of the plan. I just wanted to get better. I smashed my leg to pieces and it was all pinned together, and you know, I was in the hospital for about 2 months, but all these crazy things started to happen around me that I just couldn't resist the urge to kind of write them down, you know, and bits of paper and medical charts, things like that. So it wasn't really until about a year or two later I started to think, maybe there is a book here. I just don't know, you know, what am I going to do with all these poems? And then it was kind of like an open mic night like this. I kind of just stood up and read some, and there just so happened to be a publisher in the audience who came over and said, I would really like to read some more of that. So I sent in the 10 poems, and then they said, great, we'll have the whole book. But the fact is there wasn't a whole book at that stage. So I then had 18 months to get the book together, and that's what we have here. So I didn't actually write the book in the order in which it is now, in the way it exists, but I am going to read it to you in that order. So I tried to put the poems in the order of day one, from when I was admitted to hospital, and then some of the things that happened along the way, and then obviously it ends with me being discharged, as you'd expect. So the first poem I'm going to read is called Tank, and this is all about I was in the field where I broke my leg, and it was all about my journey in the ambulance taking me into the hospital. So this is Tank. My first time in an ambulance, well, the first time I'm the wounded, the casualty on the stretcher, a fish plucked from the river. Inside, it's a tank. Radio calls drop in and crackle like bombs. Incendiaries burn the tips of my ears, pain above the morphine, going in, fading out. Square corners and the stench of hot metal. Windows so dark they might not even be there. Guns pushed into foam, their carry cases returned from the field, now full of probes, instruments. We speed away from my unit, medics hunched on half-bent legs, swinging to the sides in traffic, a pinball dancing up the table, curved. And me, the soldier, unknown and unwelcome, unfit to serve, ready to grab a white feather from the battlefield and place it by my breast, a boutonniere. So that's it, the first one. What I will say is these poems there are all quite short, and one of the reasons for that, I guess, is because I was on a lot of morphine for quite a lot of the time, so they were kind of little moments that were happening around me. So yeah, so you will find as I read them to you that they are quite short, and you don't have to clap after each one either. So this next poem is Here We Lie, and this was actually the first poem that I wrote. I'd been in hospital about 3 days, and I was just kind of recovering, and I was really starting to see some of the chaos, really, of what it's like to be on an NHS ward. So this is called Here We Lie. The unusual suspects. We line the walls in fives, some crammed in at 12 to a block. It's suffocating. No privacy to wipe your arse. This is a public sport, recovery, a Roman game. We're being put to the test, challenged to continue, dared to get better, to rise up, and only some of us will make it. So this next poem is about visiting hour and what it's like when you're in a hospital for a long period of time. You see the moods that change from day to night, and that central part of the day when all the visitors come in. So this is called Lazarette. Dip your oars softly into the still waters. Row across to the island. No bridges will bring you here. You'd best cram in the boats, plug up the holes, and set sail for our colony. Timed with the tides, we'll let you in twice daily, no more or less, as the sea parts back, yawning, an open mouth. Be the missionary, bring grapes to the sick, and coins for Sharon, just in case. We might not smile, it's true, but we're still here, at visiting hours, for your entertainment. So this next poem is about the people who came to see me and the feeling when they leave, essentially, leave you alone in this hospital. It's called The Door. Everyone leaves you in the end. After the repartees and magazines, everything is plastic as the water jug. They get up and walk. First the backs of the shoes, then the wave, fingers closed. By the end, the edge of their face slides away into the hallway. And now I realise there's nothing quite as frightening as a closed door. This next poem is called A Photograph, and because I was in hospital for quite a long time, my friends and my family, gradually as the weeks went on, they would bring me little things from home until I ended up having like all these kind of mementos and stuff all around me. I didn't necessarily always want them, but there's one, it was a photo. I don't have it anymore, sadly, and I really wish I did. My mum and dad got divorced when I was quite young, and I just had this one photo of the two of them together that they took in a photo booth. So I had that by the side of my bed for quite a lot of my time in hospital. So this is a photograph. A photograph of my mother and father, black and grey, no white, crammed into the booth, all salad-day smiles, untouched and unharmed by life and each other. Resting by the drawer, the corner flayed, I'm giving in to nostalgia. In this photograph, they are not yet my parents, not yet apart, together, trapped in time, in my medicated dream. So obviously I saw lots of things in the hospital, quite traumatic things. One of the scariest things was when someone would die, which obviously when you're in hospital for a few months that tends to happen every now and then. And of course it reminds you of your own mortality, so this is what I wrote, 360. Tonight you're gasping your final breaths, puny gulps, shortening and slowing. I can't bear to watch you die, but my hands are tied behind my back. The string itches, cuts into my wrists. I wish you were sleeping. Instead, terror lingers in glassy eyes. Chest heaves, heart weakens. skin creased like paper, so dry about the bones. No one seems to give a fuck. You're just part of the circle. It arches round and round. Now I'm crawling under warm sheets, lids so heavy and dreamy soft. I must close them. I'm drifting, hoping you won't be there when they open. And this poem is what happened immediately after. Colin's final scene. The stage curtain glides along the rails. Squeals echo through the black of the ward, while porters trundle trolleys along the darkened, shiny floors, chiming like xylophones, death's midnight instruments. They approach the green tent and enter, there just to dispose of the body. Such tidy gardeners you've never seen, as they remove him from the chamber, now asleep forever. I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier that I was on morphine, which obviously is heroin for all intents and purposes. It was actually quite enjoyable for quite a lot of the time, and it was actually really good for writing poetry. And morphine really gave me the most vivid dreams, like kind of psychedelic dreams. Sadly, I'm accompanied by sweating. I sweated a lot, and my way around this was I kind of imagined I was getting rained on, because it really did feel like I was under like a shower or something in my kind of psychedelic trip, I guess. So I wrote this, which is called The Night Storm. These nights, I've learned to enjoy the storms, blinking away the torrents. Here come the raindrops, splashing onto my eyelids, closed or open, it's all the same. A salty rain that my body will send. Like the orchid, it fades, dwindling into the dawn, an early bright. Even the most enchanted of nights must come to an end. So, I'm going to read one more poem in this book, that's all right. And this one actually didn't go into this book, this was in my first book, but I think I must be a bit obsessed with hospitals, because this is another poem about a hospital, so I thought it's a good chance to read it again. I really don't want to depress you, but this is about, I was a twin, but I was the only one who lived, so I wrote this poem, which is called The Rebirth Remembered. I promise you there are some more cheerful poems to come in this. It gets better as I got better. So this is The Rebirth Remembered. The forgotten birth after me, a pair, was my twin. Ignored, they stared at me, but not him. Wail and distress, I moved with the splashed white. But he never. My fingers twitched. He was still. I was bathed, but he was shut away in the morgue, blue. Remember me, my brother too, a pair, like the midwife did when she smiled. But he never smiled, he never did. I was wrapped in the white shawl, he was wrapped in the white coffin and sunk, while I rose. Remember us.